Hey, this is George Mazzell again. Got a little bit more information about magnets for you. One of the things that everybody likes to talk about is the Gauss level of a magnet. How strong is the magnet? One of the things that they always use is they talk about these 14,000, 15,000 Gauss N45, N50 magnets, about talking about the BH max number, and that's not really a true number of what you're going to get on the surface. So we're going to have a little bit of a lesson on this, and I've got some fun stuff to show you at the end with my 10,000 Gauss magnet and one that I've just got in that's over 16,000 Gauss we can achieve combining some of the effects that I have. One of the things that we do when we're looking at it is we want to use a Gauss meter. And using this Gauss meter, it helps us to see. I've got this one that I've just picked up from Integrity Design, and I kind of like the way this one works for heavy duty and for lots of using it. It seems to be a very rugged type Gauss meter. Now, we're going to just start by looking at a magnet. This is just a regular rectangle magnet, and if I read in the center of the magnet, I'm reading about 2,900 Gauss. A lot of Gauss meters are only 2 or 3% accurate, and so you don't want to try and read numbers like it's actually reading out to 2,765 Gauss. So we just stick pretty much with this one's reading about 2,700 Gauss in the center. If I move to the corners, I notice that it jumps to 3,700 Gauss. Or in this corner, it's 3,700. Go to the other corner, it's 3,400. I look in the other corner, it's about 3,500 Gauss. So it moves around depending on where you are on the magnet. That's with this magnet. Now I have another magnet that's a fairly thin, round magnet. This one's about as big as a quarter, maybe a little bit thinner. In the center, this magnet only measures 600 Gauss. Even though it's an N35, 600 Gauss. Now on the edge, it measures about 1,500, 1,480, 1,440, 1,400, just rotating it about 90 degrees each time, 1,400 Gauss, okay? Now, when we take that magnet, we're getting those readings. If you take a ceramic magnet, and this is a 2-inch square by 1/2 inch thick ceramic magnet, in the center of it, it reads 660 Gauss. If I go to the corners of the ceramic, I'm reading 1,140 Gauss, 1,060, 1,020, 1,120, and then 900, well, right at 1,070 on this one, okay? Giving you just a little bit of an idea of some of the Gauss readings. Now, if you take, as you get the thickness of the magnet more until it gets to where it's equal to the cross-sectional area, the cross-sectional width or diameter, in this case a disc magnet, this disc magnet is much thicker. You won't see as much variation. When I measure it in the center, I get 4,300 Gauss. If I move to the edge, I'm getting about 4,000 Gauss. So there's not much difference. And the center is actually the strongest point as opposed to out on the edge. Well, I actually am getting 4,400 at that spot. So it's just pretty much all over the place. 44, 45, 4,100, and about 4,300 Gauss that we're measuring around this magnet. Well, in looking at all of this and studying magnets several years ago, I decided that I wanted to look at what would happen when I made a pyramid. Now, a pyramid magnet, I like the idea because it's taking 2 square inches of surface area and material. They have machined it down, and it comes up to a 1-inch square top. When I look at the center Gauss reading on this magnet, I am measuring 5,140 Gauss. Now this is N50 material, so it's about a 14,400, 14,500 BH max material. You look in the center, you're getting about 5,100 Gauss. You look on the corners, and you're measuring 62, 80, 5,800 on this corner, and 5,900, and around 5,500. So that wasn't what I was really hoping for. I was hoping to get a stronger reading than that, and then I got the idea. What happens if I stack the magnets? When I started looking at these magnets and realizing that out at the edge of the magnet, it is much stronger, I said, why not capture this magnetism that's at the edges and pull it through? All magnetism, the easiest way to remember it, is all North Poles hunting the South Pole. And so if I can put a South Pole right near the edge of where this polarity, this flux is coming off here that would normally want to loop around, what I'm doing is giving it a path of less resistance to go through the next layer of material. And so it comes up through here and it comes in this side, and I continuously reduce the cross-sectional area by stacking the magnets. When I do this, it sort of makes it look like this from a top view. We're getting smaller and smaller cross-sectional area, but we're not adding much in thickness. I'm adding about 1 millimeter thick magnets. And all of this led me to think about, what if I combined some of these effects? What if I combined the stacking effect with my pyramid? And so I've made this magnet, and this is one that when I've had several researchers who have needed magnetic fields, static magnetic fields in excess of 10,000 Gauss. That's more than 1 Tesla. And so what I've done is I've got a 2-inch square base by 1-inch thick N50 magnet, and on top of that I've got my 2-inch square tapering to 1-inch square N50 pyramid magnet, and it has about 6,500 Gauss on the surface. Then I added the stacking magnets, one that's about 1 inch in diameter by 2.5 millimeters thick in N50, and then successively reducing it with 1 millimeter thick magnets to where on the top I have a 3 millimeter square by 1 millimeter thick N50 magnet. Combining these effects and putting the Gauss meter on it, this sends the Gauss meter soaring over 10,000 Gauss. This will go up to 10,100, 10,200 Gauss when you get it right over the point where these magnets are stacked up perfectly on top of each other. You have to make sure they're pretty much on top of each other. And what's happening is the flux is coming out of this outer edge, going into the next layer, going into the next layer, into the next layer until it gets here. While it's extremely high strength magnetic field at this point, it also drops off dramatically. If we get just 1/4 of an inch away, we're down to 4,000 Gauss. If you get 1 inch away, you don't even know you've been on top of this kind of a magnetic field. All of this gave me another opportunity. About a couple of years ago, I started working with a researcher who wanted to see if we could make the Halbach design. Everybody's familiar with the Halbach design? The Halbach design out of my pyramids. It's taken 2 years to get my manufacturer and get all the details worked out to get this thing made. This is probably the most massive, most powerful permanent magnet array in the world. This one inside, without the stack magnets, if you look in close, you see that I have the 3 magnets here with the small magnets stacked on top of it all the way down to a 4 millimeter square surface on both sides. Without this entire circular area here inside of this measures over 10,000 Gauss, between 10,000 and 10,500 Gauss. But when I start stacking the magnets and put the probe in between, now we see this go right on top of this point to over 16,000 Gauss. So it's 16,000 Gauss going that way and 16,000 Gauss going this way, which makes it over 30,000 Gauss, over 3 Tesla in the flux path. But it is a 1.6, I listed as a 1.6 Tesla magnet and a permanent magnet. Now all of this shiny material around the edge is heavy grade steel. It took an extremely powerful steel array to hold these in place. Each of these magnets are magnetized according to the arrows drawn. The north goes in here and the south into here, and that gives us this focus point. And we only have north pole on half of it, south pole on the other. So stacking the magnets amplified that power and makes this one incredibly powerful magnet. Now, you've heard it all from Super Magnet Man. Visit us on www.supermagnetman.net website. We'd be glad to have you look around, see if there's anything we can help you out with in magnets. Thank you. Look forward to your comments.